Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.
A day to pause and reflect on the sacrifices made by so many men and women of our armed forces. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Memorial Day weekend is typically the kickoff for warmer temperatures in San Diego, and it's traditionally a day where the beaches are packed. But as KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman found out, there was some extra room on the sand.
It's the unofficial start of summer. Memorial Day is here, and down here at the beach at Belmont Park area, Mission Beach, the boardwalk, it's fairly busy, but May Gray is also still here with us. No sun yet. It's about midday, and as you can see out here on the beach, not as many people as there were in years past.
I didn't expect as much clouds, but it's not terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting this, but a term I've heard since coming out here is May Gray, so apparently that's new to me.
Lifeguards say Memorial Day weekend is typically one of the busiest of the year, rivaling Labor Day weekend crowds with as many as 30,000 people packing Mission Beach. At midday, they estimated it was more like 3,000 to 4,000 people, but the May Gray isn't stopping everyone from coming out.
Looks nice. Obviously, if the sun was out, it'd probably be a little bit better, but
we're excited.
Water looks good.
Touch the Pacific though, right? We've never been to the Pacific Ocean, so we're excited for that.
Yeah, what's your guys' beach day plan? You guys gonna lay out, hope for the sun to break out, walk around, hang out, or
whatever she lets us do.
Yeah.
That's her world.
This is for her.
Yeah.
What we've seen is a lot of May Gray, a lot of June gloom that's headed our way, even some drizzle. So I think it's keeping crowds away from the beach area, and they're finding something else to do.
San Diego Lifeguard Lieutenant Jacob Magnus says the water temp at Mission Beach was around 63 degrees, but with cloud cover, it can feel colder.
Looking out on the beach, I'm just surprised. I mean, it's almost noon, and there's so much real estate available to come and enjoy the beach, even though it's a little chilly.
Magnus says they're at full staffing, and even though not as many people are on the sand, they're still making about the same number of rescues as last year. He says rip currents have been pretty strong in some areas. With the cooler weather, some tourists were looking for one thing.
The hottest selling item right now is all of our sweatshirts and hoodies. I mean, people come down and they're coming in from Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico. They think that, you know, it's sunny California, and then they get here and they hit this gloomy weather, and they freeze. They're like, what the heck?
The manager of Hamill's Surf Shop says business has been very good this Memorial Day weekend.
The economy's attempting to make a snapback, I think. You know, people are, wanting to get out and do stuff. I mean, if it was sunnier, we would have just a crazy amount of people coming down here. But, it's still busier than the year before and the year before that. You know what I mean? It just all depends on the weather.
Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Across the country and here in San Diego, Americans are remembering fallen heroes. Laura Aguirre shows us how the president marked this Memorial Day.
To all those here and across the nation who are grieving the loss of a loved one who wore the uniform, our Gold Star families, to all those with loved ones still missing and unaccounted for, I know how painful it can be.
The president remembering all those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, part of the 155th National Memorial Day observance at Arlington National Cemetery Monday.
We must never forget the price that was paid to protect our democracy.
The president also laying a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. Some of the country's last surviving World War II veterans were among those gathered at the memorial honoring their fallen comrades. The veterans placed wreaths in remembrance, escorted by soldiers and sailors of all military branches. A joint services honor guard led the ceremony at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall, inscribed with the names of over 58,000 service members who gave their lives in service of our country.
We have only one truly sacred obligation: to prepare those we send into harm's way and care for them and their families when they come home and when they don't.
I'm Laura Aguirre for KPBS News.
San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria was among. And San Diego Mayor was among those in that service this morning, which was followed by musical performances. Right in front of the Midway, a different Memorial Day event was held. As KPBS military and veterans reporter Andrew Dyer shows us, it was meant to remind everyone of the human cost of war.
Throngs of people were drawn to the USS Midway Museum this Memorial Day. Amidst the crowd, the names of almost 300 Southern California service members killed in Iraq and Afghanistan rang out.
Army Sergeant First Class Peter M. Tyrell II, 32 years old, Company C, 2nd Battalion, 3rd Special Forces Group Airborne, born in Towanda, New York, killed when an Air Force MC-130H Combat Talon II transport plane crashed on takeoff in eastern Afghanistan on June the 12th, 2002.
It's part of an annual display by the San Diego chapter of Veterans for Peace, an anti-war veterans organization. Hundreds of miniature grave markers on the lawn outside the museum note the names and hometowns of those killed during the 20-year global war on terror.
At Veterans for Peace, one of our tenets is to show the real cost of war.
5 bells for 5 soldiers killed.
David Patterson is a Vietnam veteran who served in the Air Force. He's been part of the organization for 20 years. He says that highlighting local troops who were killed brings the war home to a society increasingly disconnected from the service.
People are isolated from the cost of war. It's still like Iraq, Afghanistan, still thousands of people died, and but if we don't get out there and put these kind of markers up, people it won't register. In the next war, they won't think that it's a big deal.
Dotted among the graves are also black markers without names. Patterson says those represent war veterans lost to suicide.
So that's why we do this, and basically we're telling people this is the cost of war. What we get from war is misery, death, and, of course, the military-industrial complex, which has wonderful profits.
Staff Sergeant Justin J. Gulikowski, 28 years old.
The organization will also set up the display on Veterans Day.
How many of these kids were killed in this damn thing?
Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
And as the nation honors those fallen in battle, a North County museum dedicated to the military is looking for a new home. We'll have that story coming up. The bargaining is done. Now the process of selling members of Congress on a tentative deal to raise the nation's debt ceiling begins. The agreement reached by President Joe Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has been met with criticism from both sides of the aisle. It would essentially hold spending flat and suspend the debt ceiling through January 1st, 2025.
Agreement also represents a compromise, which means no one got everything they want. But that's the responsibility of governing.
It should be about America. America believes that we've spent too much.
The House Rules Committee will consider the deal in a meeting tomorrow. If those Republicans vote against it, it will fail unless some Democrats vote to advance the bill to a full House vote. San Diegans are paying more at the pump as the price has risen for the 11th time in 12 days. The average price for regular gasoline in our county rose to over $4.89 today. It's the highest amount since April 27th. The price rose 7.6 cents over the past 12 days. Increases are expected to continue due to oil refinery issues. And amid higher gas prices and environmental concerns, demand for electric vehicles is increasing. And lithium, a crucial metal for electric car batteries, is set to be extracted from underneath the Salton Sea. Mike Valerio takes us to the desert for a closer look.
It looks like a shimmering sea that was once called a miracle in the desert.
The Salton Riviera, beside the blue Salton Sea, is the place for you to take charge of your future.
A Hollywood hideaway 3 hours from Los Angeles, where Sinatra and the Rat Pack played. But now, after decades of drought and farm runoff raising the water's salinity, the Salton Sea today is surrounded by dust and decay.
The hope is that the chronic unemployment and poverty down here can be alleviated by the development of Lithium Valley.
This gurgling and sputtering from underground gases potentially heralds a new beginning, a transformation from languishing vistas to Lithium Valley.
These structures are called mud volcanoes when they're above ground.
Geologist Michael McKibben explains deep underneath us, where two tectonic plates are pushing past each other, magma heats groundwater. And within that salty water, called brine, minerals dissolve, including the valuable metal lithium.
This is the gold right here.
Yes. Solid lithium is essential for electric vehicle batteries. Right now, most lithium battery production is in China, but experts say the Salton Sea region could provide enough lithium to move the U.S. toward lithium independence, supercharging our EV transition.
Our intention is to be in construction this year and be in operation in 2025.
Eric Spomer is CEO of Energy Source Minerals, one of 3 companies planning to draw lithium from the underground hot brine.
This is where the separation begins.
Yes, this is where the high temperature, high pressure fluids coming up into our high pressure separator.
Boiling brine already fuels 11 Salton Sea geothermal power plants, among them Hudson Ranch 1. The brine steam spins its turbines, and that creates clean energy. The plan now is to extract dissolved lithium from that same brine.
We developed a technology that is incredibly efficient at extracting lithium from brine and rejecting impurities.
One of the hopes with lithium extraction is that it could bring vitality back to the Salton Sea and so much of what we're looking at all around us. Fewer than 10 years ago, this was underwater, and people who live in and around the area hope that with more money into the economy, at least a fraction of the Salton Sea can be restored to its former glory.
Simply put, Ruben Hernandez, owner of the nearby Buckshot Deli and Diner, hopes a lithium boom leads to a boom in customers and a flood of tax revenue for a better future. My grandchildren will grow up here, he tells us. I hope they'll have good services and a good quality of life. That is, if lithium leads to a second miracle in the desert, one for our time and for the road ahead. On the banks of the Salton Sea, I'm Mike Valerio reporting.
Living in California has become too big of a risk for one insurance company. State Farm has stopped accepting home insurance applications from California. The insurance provider says the risk of wildfires, construction costs going up, and a challenging reinsurance market are all reasons for the decision. It will also not be taking any applications for business policies. Existing policyholders will not be affected. San Diego County's environmental staff says mosquito season is off to a slow start. KPBS SciTech reporter Thomas Fudge explains why you may be suffering fewer backyard bites this year.
San Diego has mosquitoes all year, but there is a mosquito season where they really start showing up.
We consider mosquito season to start in about April and then go through October. But because we don't have a hard freeze here in San Diego, we do see mosquitoes at least a little bit year-round.
And Allison Bray with San Diego County Vector Control says the season is off to a slow start. Yes, it's been rainy and mosquitoes breed and produce larvae in water, but there are other factors involved. Because we've had a lot of rain this year, that means San Diego rivers and streams are still running high with a fairly swift current. That's not a good body of water for growing and hatching mosquitoes.
We're also seeing the weather staying cold longer, and mosquitoes reproduce faster when the weather is warmer.
Yep, The fast-moving water and a lot of bad beach weather has meant vector control is not snaring as many of the bugs in their outdoor traps. Standing stagnant water is where mosquitoes like to breed, the kind you can find in canyon ponds, rain barrels, or unchlorinated backyard pools. There are at least 25 species of mosquitoes in San Diego County. Many of them are invasive, like this one, the Aedes aegypti, which, Bray says, really likes the taste of us.
They're what we sometimes call backyard breeders because they want to lay their eggs as close to humans as possible because we are one of their favorite food sources.
The Aedes aegypti, originally from West Africa, are very good at carrying yellow fever and Zika virus. They don't carry those diseases in San Diego because they aren't endemic here. Mosquitoes in California can carry West Nile virus, but that's usually asymptomatic. If people want to keep the bugs to a minimum, empty any outdoor water vessels you've got. If you have a pond or other kind of standing water you can't empty, you can get some of these. Mosquito fish eat lots of the bugs. You can get them free from San Diego County. Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
Well, here are your weather headlines right off the top. I've got a June-like gloom. It's only for certain portions of the Southwest. I'll get into that in just a second. Showers for some, again, only for certain folks. And an end of the week warm-up. Everybody's getting in on that. Let's get into what's going on for your headlines for tonight. I've got a shower late with those temperatures in the upper 50s. Now let me show you a more detailed version of what's happening overnight. You can see those showers more towards the coast and Chula Vista. Outside of that, you're seeing that we've got partly cloudy skies. Now, here's the June-like gloom I was telling you about. Oceanside, you're getting in on some of those cloudy conditions as well. Getting into your tomorrow, well, futurecast-wise, just wanted to give you some timing on what things are looking like. You can expect those cloudy conditions all along the coast. This is your Tuesday at 12 p.m., and you're still dealing with those cloudy conditions. Now, inland, not a bad forecast. You're seeing 90s in Borrego Springs and Mount Laguna getting in on 55 degrees, but what you'll notice is sunshine. As you head farther inland, that's where the clouds come in. So here's your 5-day outlook for the coast. You're going to see a general warm-up trend as you head into the later portion of the week. The clouds will start to break, and you'll finally get in on those sunshine by the late week. Now, as you head into inland, same kind of trend, right? You're seeing that June-like gloom for the beginning and middle of the week, end of the week, looking nice. Getting into the mountain forecast, it's a little different for you. What you're going to notice is you're getting in on all sunshine, and the temps, well, they're on the up and up too. We're getting into your desert forecast, and you'll notice, oh, it's warm, but even for you, the temps are going to be on the up and up as you head into the latter portion of the week. And what else you'll notice is lots of sunshine for you. With the KPBS forecast, I'm meteorologist Michelle McLeod.
If you want to run for the District 4 seat on the San Diego County Board of Supervisors, you only have 1 week to get your name on the ballot. Starting tomorrow, candidates can pull nomination papers, then return them to the Registrar of Voters by Tuesday, June 6th. There's a filing fee of just over $2,000, and candidates must submit 20 to 40 nomination signatures. The special election will be August 15th, with ballots going out to voters on July 16th. So far, there are 3 candidates vying for the seat: Democrats Janessa Goldbeck, Monica Montgomery Stepp, and Republican Amy Reichert. You might have noticed more portable restrooms around San Diego. 13 portable restrooms have been placed near homeless encampments in the last week in response to an uptick in hepatitis A cases. This year, the county has confirmed 29 cases of Hep A, but no outbreak has been reported. About 2/3 of infections are among people experiencing homelessness. Hep A spreads through close contact and fecal matter, so good hygiene is key to stopping its spread. Well, summer is a time many families spend at the pool or the beach, but drowning is a leading cause of death for children in the U.S. Mandy Gaither has more on how to keep kids safe in the water as the weather gets warmer.
It can happen in seconds, and when a person's drowning, they're silent.
Every year, I wait for the phone call that we're going to have a drowning victim.
Pediatric emergency physician Dr. Sarah Lazarus has seen firsthand the dangers of water. She says many times child drownings happen while parents are at a party or gathering.
They think that someone else is going to be watching their child, and they lose eyes on them for a moment, and then the next thing they know, they're floating at the top of the water, or they see them on the side not breathing.
In the U.S., there are an estimated 4,000 fatal unintentional drownings every year. Anyone can drown, but children are at highest risk. It's the leading cause of death in kids ages 1 to 4, and the second leading cause of unintentional death in kids ages 5 to 14. But drownings are preventable. Keep kids younger than 6 within arm's reach around water. For older kids who can confidently swim 2 laps of a pool, make sure you keep an eye on them.
Because you're going to be more protective of your child than anyone else, it's really important that you realize you need to be aware of them. And you can't really trust on lifeguards or anyone else at a party to keep eyes on them because there's distractions everywhere.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, we dig into the details of the debt ceiling deal and how it could affect the U.S. economy. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
On this Memorial Day, the Logan Heights Veterans Committee held a special ceremony to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Logan Heights Veterans Memorial Monument across from Chicano Park. The ceremony honored several fallen veterans, including Rudy Martinez, the first Mexican-American Navy sailor to die in World War II. He served on the USS Utah, which was sunk during Japan's surprise attack on Pearl Harbor. For the first time in 81 years, Martinez was recognized for his sacrifice, and his niece was honored on her uncle's behalf.
To me, it means that he will never be forgotten, that he is here in spirit with all of us, and he has a special place in our heart. And to me, I'm grateful to everyone who has helped us finally get this on.
Assembly member David Alvarez also presented her with a special California Legislature Assembly resolution in honor of her uncle. Memorial Day gives us the chance to honor military members whose lives were lost in service to their country. And one man in Vista honors that history through a collection of artifacts, over 2,000 of them. But his collection needs a new home. KPBS North County reporter Tonya Thorne has the story.
Harris Gilroy is a cabinet maker by trade. But tucked in the back of his woodworking shop in Vista, he has a hidden treasure.
This is my World War II mini museum, and I've been collecting now since I was a young boy, actually. And this is the anteroom. It contains mostly Vietnam, Gulf War, with a little bit of Korea, but the real guts of the museum is the World War II collection that's in this back room. So yeah, there's over 2,000 artifacts in here from World War II, and this is a life's collection. Fighter pilots carried their sidearm on with a shoulder holster. This is the Army Air Force sidearm with the Colt 1911 pistol. This is the Navy and Marine Corps pilots use this pistol, Smith & Wesson Victory model revolver, on their shoulder holster. Here's your bailout map. If you had to bail out over enemy territory, you carried this silk map that's waterproof, so you knew where you were.
Gilroy's collection started when he and his brother were young boys.
Back then, after World War II, my brother's older, he could get all of this stuff at the local Army-Navy surplus store. So he started collecting, and we just built on the collection over the year.
Other items have been purchased or donated. But beyond the collection of the artifacts, Gilroy has studied the person and meaning behind the items.
I'm a historian and a collector, and I wanted to display the things so people could enjoy them. I can tell you stories for hours. Yeah, I've done countless hours of reading and studying. I went to Palomar College after I graduated just to bone up on my history of this whole stuff, and yeah, it's been great.
Gilroy says the world of today would look different if it wasn't for the sacrifice many of these service members made.
We would not be able to enjoy the freedoms we have as Americans without the guys that fought in World War II. It's as simple as that. It's important we tell their stories and see their artifacts.
As proud as Gilroy is of his collection, he's prouder he can share his knowledge with the public. But that's changing because the building where the museum is housed was recently sold, forcing him to move.
Here in the beginning of August, this museum will be looking for a new home somewhere. So I do not have room for it in my little beach house.
While he isn't ready to part ways with his collections, he is looking for an opportunity to continue sharing it with the world.
We're just hoping and praying something comes forward. There's several ideas on the table, but you know, it takes funding and it takes the interest of somebody that has, you know, available room to get this museum set up again.
Museum tours can still be scheduled before the move by contacting Gilroy at Cactus Militaria. Tonya Thorne, KPBS News.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.